Turn me up, turn me up, turn me up. It's your boy Ralph, aka Mr. Indeed.
And you already know it's your boy Antoine, aka Red. And like normal, we here for a good time, not a long time. And we promise to always
Keep it real, raw, and relevant. Welcome to the Rated R Podcast.
all right. We are back once again. Like normal, man, I don't want to take a time out to say thank you to everybody who watched our podcast, who continues to watch and continues to support. Like I said, any questions, concerns, we have our email in the description. So reach out to us. Let us know what you're thinking or what you would like us to talk about. As well as we've added our Cash App, which will be in the description as well, just in case you want to bless your co-host, your favorite co-host. So what you got for me today, Mr. Indeed himself?
Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for who tuned in to the show. We do appreciate you guys in every way. We would like to hear your feedback. If you are shy and don't want to comment, we got an email. We do check the email. So hit us up. And like my boy Red said, we do got a Cash App now. If you would like to bless us with a donation to the Rated R Podcast, I'm sure Dia put the link up here so you can scan it, and it'll also be in the description. Outside of that, today is a special episode. We do have a special guest. So, introduce yourself.
Hi, I am Shantese. I am 35 and I'm from Flint, Michigan. And I'm just excited to be on the podcast today and to be the special guest because you guys be talking about some interesting stuff and I just want to get into it.
I like that. So yeah, today we're gonna start. I don't know if we're gonna make it a part 1, 2, 3 or just a today. We'll figure it out. Definitely with the feedback, so y'all let us know. But we're gonna speak on trauma. And before we get into it, just for the ones that need a definition, according to the internet, trauma is a deeply distressing or disturbing experience. And we're gonna jump into some childhood as well, which is when an individual experience or witness an event that is too much for them to cope with, of course. So I got a few questions since I get to be the interviewer today.
All right.
Yeah, you get to be the interviewer today because you didn't escape this one. But we are coming back, Red. You gonna let this trauma out, my boy.
You can't catch me, man. I'm the gingerbread. All right, here we go. So we're gonna jump straight into it. How can unresolved trauma impact a relationship, work, or your daily life? For whoever wants to take it first.
Oh my God. It can most definitely impact every aspect that you just touched on. It can most definitely impact everything far as like daily living and working and stuff like that, relationship, especially a relationship, because when you dealt with trauma and you go into a relationship, it's kind of hard because you still got that wall up and you still got that trauma that you dealing with. It don't matter if it's from childhood or all past relationships. Like when it comes to relationship trauma, you probably didn't been with somebody and it was horrible. So that's a trauma. And then you get with the greatest person who could be the greatest person, but being that you have been through that trauma, you're going to take that trauma out on him or that person that you're with. And then not only that, it brings up your childhood trauma. So we can be in a relationship and I'm going through a relationship problem and I'm thinking about my past relationship, but being that you've been through trauma, it will bring up that childhood trauma also. So you're thinking about everything that happened to you when you was a kid. You thinking about everything that happened in your past relationship. So, and then daily working, all that comes up too. Going to work, that trauma just hit you out of nowhere and you don't know. You wouldn't even know that all that is built up inside you until you get to that point. So it can affect it most definitely, like in every aspect.
You know, Red, I'm going to focus on the parenting side of the relationship
Mm-hmm.
instead of the significant other, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, and wife. When I was 8, right, I never forget it. 1998, Michael Jordan and the Bulls winning a championship, and my mother is beside me, and I'm so excited. I'm in the bed with her. I'm jumping all over the bed, and she normally fussing at me because I'm making too much noise while she's trying to sleep. But on this particular day, she wasn't saying anything, and she was unresponsive, and I would have to call her name 5 or 6 times for her to answer. And what happened is I called my grandma, God rest her soul, uh, GA. You will hear me talking about GA a lot because that's my grandma.
Mm-hmm.
And when my grandma got there, you know, we called 911. And to go through everything kind of quickly, Red, um, my mama had a heart attack, a, a stroke. Um, she died 3 times. The doctor told us to get ready for a funeral. And I never forget it, Red. I was too young to go into UMC ICU. And my grandma, GA, would always come out with a head held high because she didn't want me to see her cry. And so as a child, that was very traumatizing for me because after that, I had to take care of all the responsibilities of taking care of my mama. I had to learn how to cook. I had to learn how to clean. I had to learn how to do laundry. And I had to learn how to do it, all of this stuff from the age of 8. And the crazy part about it, Red, is for a long time, I blamed that because I blamed my mama and her situation because I felt like I missed out on a lot of my childhood, having to take care of her. Fast forward, right? So when I first moved to Texas, I was having to travel up and down the highway because my mom had a hernia and the doctor in Mississippi refused to remove it. And so she was having different blood transfusions. And I never forget it, Red. I walked in there and she was on the breathing machine. She couldn't hardly breathe. I called my sister and I was boo-hooing, bro, because my grandma had hid that side from me as a kid. But seeing it for myself, like I boo-hoo, bro. I broke down and I never forget it. My uncles, they all pulled me outside and they said, hey, at the end of the day, this is your mama. If you decide you want to change hospitals, if you decide you want other doctors, if you decide you want them to do surgery, then guess what? You make that decision because now it's all on you. And Red, for a long time, bro, like I would say probably up until 2015, like I had so much resentment build up for my mom because I just felt like it was just too much, bro. Like it was just so overwhelming all the time. And it hurt. But what I will say is seeing other people with their mama, right? I got to see my best friend Jackie with Aunt. I got to see Shavonna with her mama. I got to see my best friend Josh with his mama, with his daddy. And they made me want to resolve the issues. And I got a chance to really talk to my mom and explain to her everything I was feeling. And that was just one event, Red, that carried me from 1998, bro, to like 2015, bro. I held that in for 17 years of my life, not knowing the type of damage it was doing to me. It was a poison that just grew bigger and bigger. And it was crazy, bro. And so, like, trauma is, you will hear me refer to it as a poison. But, bro, it's something that if you cannot get over and you can't do nothing about it, bro, it's either going to be a prison or it's going to be your passport. You either going to hold on to it forever or it's going to be something that moves you up and moves you toward or away from, bro, to be better.
A childhood trauma for me, my biological father was he went through a lot as a kid. He was suicidal. And so my dad ended up taking his life. I didn't get much time to spend with my dad as normal, little girls do or people do with they dad or whatever. I didn't get that. So when I found out that he passed away, I was actually at school. My mom came pick me up. I mean, I was happy because leaving school early, you happy because you like I'm finna get out of school. So I'm in the. I remember it like it was yesterday. I'm in the back grabbing my coat. I'm dancing. I'm going home. And when I made it to the car, I see everybody in the car, like my aunt and my uncle, and I'm like, why is all of them here to pick me up? Like I'm going home. And that's when my mom had told me that he had committed suicide. And I was like, to this day, I think I'm still kind of upset, because I still got that, like, I felt like I was cheated. Like, I didn't get time to spend with you like that, or my son didn't even get to know the type of person you was, or you didn't even get to see my son. And he spent time with my older sister and my brother, but I have another brother and me. We didn't get that time. So that is a trauma to me. And every time I think about it, I get upset. Like, why you couldn't take that time? Why we couldn't build that relationship? I just felt like we was cheated, and it still bothers me to this day. And a lot of people don't know that, but because I keep it in, I don't say nothing about it. But that really just bothers me, and I'm just like, that time was wasted, and it was took away from me. So that is a hard trauma for me, and I still deal with that to this day. So.
Okay, well, that actually answers one of the questions. So I will let you add on if you would like, or Ralph, you can come in if she doesn't want to add on. But the question was, how has childhood trauma affected you? And do you feel it triggers your adult behavior or your mental health?
But I would say my mental health most definitely. Um, I have anxiety. I have bad anxiety, but it's just like from losing people over the years. Like everybody that I was close to. Like after my dad died, my uncle died. And that was somebody that I was close to. And then my stepdad raised us because my mom has 10 kids. That's also a trauma. My mom has 10 kids. My mom left and was like, hey, these y'all 10 kids, I ain't taking care of them. I don't want to raise them no more. I can't do it. And my mom left. And she left us with my two stepdads, my brother dad and my sister's them dad. So I call him my father also because that's the man that raised me. I call both of them my dad. And my stepdad, he recently passed 2 years ago. So with all that and losing my brother and all that, that is like a trauma that I deal with. Like I'm scared to answer the phone if it's 2 o'clock in the morning. So that it brings my anxiety up because I don't know what's on the other end of that phone. I'm scared to get attached to people because I'm scared I'm gonna lose you and I don't know how to take that. So it really it affects you tremendously.
Uh, I think that it affects me as a adult male. Um, it was I was in a single parent household type of situation, and so a lot of my mannerisms, a lot of the way I deal with stuff, comes directly from my mom, and so it's funny, right? Because like she lived with me now, and I always said, uh, I told her a long time ago, I said, I just want you to know, you ain't gonna never stay with me. You going straight to the senior citizen home. You will not be with me. And like me and her laugh about it now, but um, like I got a lot of her mannerisms, and so my mama, one of those people where when you go low, she go lower. And so when you say something to her that offends her or makes her sad, instead of her saying, hey, that hurt my feelings, or hey, that made me sad, she tells you what you're not doing, or she tells you this, that, and the third, like she's on you because her feelings is hurt. And it's a defense mechanism, right? And so I realized not too long ago, like I got that from her, because if you say something to me that I don't like I'm on the attack because I feel as though you're attacking me. When in reality, I should just say, hey, I don't like the way you said what you said to me, and it came off hurtful, and I don't want to react to it. And Reg, you know what I'm gonna say. With my school and emotional intelligence, like I've learned that a lot of times we get ourselves riled up. And I heard my cousin say it in the marriage episode, right? A lot of, and she was talking to the ladies, but I'm talking to all the people who are just like me. A lot of times we get ourselves riled up because what we do is somebody say something, we don't understand it the way they're saying it, so we come up with what we think they're saying in our head, and we respond. And what I've learned is the best way to not get yourself upset or not to get defensive is to just say, hey, help me understand exactly what you were saying. This is the way I took it. I want to know if this is the way you meant it. And if it isn't the way you meant it, then help me understand what you meant, because it's coming off as hurtful. And so, Red, the one thing I say, especially to some of the males that's listening, like, it's okay to hurt, bro. It's okay to say, hey, you hurt my feelings. And as men, it's so hard for us to say that, because what we don't like to happen, we don't like to be that type of vulnerable. Like, we'll be vulnerable, but we'll be vulnerable in our way. We're going to be vulnerable on our terms. And I think that somebody has to say, like, bro, it's okay to cry. Because if something happened and you lose somebody, you cry. And it's understood you're hurting, so you can cry. So I don't understand why we don't normalize, if I'm hurting, it's okay for me to cry, because it's the same type of hurt. Hurt is hurt. Some of it is bigger than others. Don't get me wrong, but it's still that same type of hurt. And for me, bro, we gotta be okay with being vulnerable on that side of things. It's okay to say, hey, I'm hurt. Hey, you hurt my feelings. I mean, Red, if we being honest, we have probably the perfect example of feeling the type of way. And instead of me saying, because I won't speak for you, but instead of me saying, hey, bro, what you did was hurtful, it was also disrespectful, help me understand what you were thinking. Instantly, we went to, bro, don't ever do nothing like that again. Because what you did is you pissed me off. Because we hide the way we truly feel behind anger because it's easy.
Most definitely, most definitely. Yeah. I agree. And I like where you was going with that. You kind of already answered, but I'll let you, Mr. Long-winded, I'll let you speak on it real quick, and then I'll let Miss Shantese come in. So you kind of spoke on it, but the other question is, why is it that us, and you know what I mean by us as a culture, frown upon seeking therapy or help? We're talking about trauma right now, but that's in general. Why is it a problem for us to seek help? Why is it frowned upon? So Ralph, I'm gonna let you say it, and then Miss Shantese come in.
Because it's looked at as weakness. Um, all of the people that came before us dealt with hard times and they dealt with it without talking to people. And so we are in a situation where we feel that we should be the same way. Like Shan said, when she said she had her anxiety, Shan isn't the first person to have anxiety, but understanding that she has anxiety, why she have anxiety, and wanting to talk about the reason she has anxiety is big. And I think that our culture, we tend to frown upon it because it's weak. And my favorite part of it is, Red, and this is one of the sayings that I've learned to not like in my adult years, because we're telling the family business. And that right there in itself lets you know that if you can't tell something, think about what that says. If somebody tells you you shouldn't say that because that's family business, what does that really say about what you're trying to say? And so,
No,
I
what
keep
you're
it
trying
short
to
and sweet
hide.
like that. Yeah, what you trying to hide, right? And so
Right.
I keep it short and sweet. I know, you talk about me being long-winded, so uh you can go ahead, Shane.
I totally agree with that. And I would say another reason is, and I know because I have been through it like tremendously a lot. As far as like, oh, I don't want to go see no therapist. And a lot of times people don't want to go see no therapist because they thinking about, oh, people are gonna judge them, people are gonna call them crazy, or and they try to keep it in and be like, I got it. And a lot of times I was doing that. I was telling myself like I got it, but it got so heavy to where my shoulders felt like I was just carrying something, like it was a burden and I couldn't carry it no more. It was days where I wouldn't get up out of the bed for a couple of days, and I'm like, hey, you got a son, like you got to get up, you know? So you can keep it in, but the more you keep it in, the more it's going to just feel like a burden on you and it's hard. And you have to express that. It's okay to talk to somebody. It's okay to express your feelings with somebody. And I feel like when you go get a therapist and you letting it all out, you're gonna feel so much better. Like I don't care what the world say. I don't care if they say, well, you crazy because why you going to see a therapist? They don't know what you go through. They don't know that you was in that bed or in that house by yourself. They don't know if you was crying behind them doors. So a therapist is a great thing. And anybody that's going through any mental health or childhood trauma or depression, like go talk to somebody. It is okay. It is okay. I'd rather you go talk to a total stranger than have that conversation with your family because what you might say to your family may be offensive. Like you go to somebody like, I want to talk to you about such and such, my auntie such and such. They might feel some type of way about that and snap out on you like, oh, you ain't gonna talk about my auntie like that. But when you go see a therapist, there's no judgmental. It's not judgment there. You got a free space, you got a safe zone that you could just have this conversation and let everything out that's been bothering you. And that's all I gotta say about that.
Yeah. Y'all hear great points. It kind of reminds me. I'll give you a little piece rap of the behavior health I go see when I was going to see her. But she pretty much broke it down to me that I had to get out the stage of thinking I got it figured out or I can handle it. She said what I'm doing is steady putting things in a bag, and just like anything else in the world, it will overflow or explode. And when that happens, we don't know what the outcome can be. So it's good to go ahead and talk about it, seek help, figure out what can be done to help it. So there you go, Rap. I did chime in a little bit. So we're gonna go to our
Red,
last question.
I'm
Go.
glad you said that, because what I think that people don't understand is trauma turns into many different things. Like what your counselor was saying was trauma turns into fear, right? And then fear turns into something totally different that you may block off from the rest of the world, or you may block off that side of you, right? Because and it's learned behavior. Like that's the problem. Like it's learned behavior. Like real talk, Red. And it was so funny, right? So we ate nachos last night, and Shavonna put like 4 peppers on my plate. And I'm like, I don't eat peppers. And she was like, it's fine. They not hot. Just eat them. Red, all my life, I was like, I don't eat peppers. I ate peppers for the first time last night and was like, oh, well, they ain't as bad as I thought they were. But it's because all my life, like my mama didn't eat peppers. Like when we went in Subway, no black olives, no hot peppers. That's always on the sandwich. And so I learned that I need to do that too. Like I don't want to eat black olives, by the way. So, that's fine. But I ate peppers for the first time last night, and they were actually good on nachos. I see why people eat them on nachos now.
Yeah, I see you've been delivered. But
Sorry, I don't want to cut you off. I want to say something that he spoke on earlier when he was when he was speaking for the man about them being vulnerable. Um, I'm a woman, I know, but I have brothers and uncles and all that. And men are taught to not show emotions, to be strong, to be a man. So when it comes to them having emotions, they're not going to express them really. Like you really would not know what a man is going through because they're taught to be strong, level headed, don't let nobody see you break. But this day and age, it's okay. Like you can go ahead and cry if you want to cry. You can break if you want to break. Especially if you got a partner or a close friend that you're close to and you like, hey, I'm breaking down. You gotta tell somebody because it will eat you up. I don't care what gender you are. And for men, that's really hard because y'all don't get that. Y'all are taught to be this tough and strong man when you can be vulnerable. Like you can be vulnerable, it's okay. That's all I want to say.
And I'm gonna tell you what's funny about this, Shan, right? And I won't tell what we talked about, but so Red called me and Red say, bro, I don't really talk to you about this type of stuff that be going on, but this how I'm feeling. And like he began to tell me how he was feeling. And so like what you just said made so much sense because like you talk all day. Like me and Red, we sit up, we talk, we text about sports and stuff like that all day long. But in order for us to have a conversation about something that is bothering us, we start the conversation by saying, hey, bro, I know we don't normally talk about this, but let me tell you how I'm feeling today. Because it's not a normal thing for us to do. And so I just had to share that because I thought that was so unique the way all it made a lot of sense when you said it like that.
for sure. Okay, last but not least, we're gonna start with Miss Shantese and then Ralph. Once you go, my boy, we're gonna allow you to go on and take us out after. Here we go, guys. Now, for real, do you think trauma is not can be? I don't like can be. So let's start this. Do you think trauma is passed down from generation to generation, Miss Shantese?
Yes, it is. It is most definitely passed down from generation to generation. I have seen it in my family with my own eyes from stuff that my grandparents did to my mother or aunties and uncles, and they passed it down to their kids. But when he was talking about him not being able, he felt like he didn't have a childhood, and that was a trauma for him. And I have a niece, and she did the same thing for her mom, babysitted her kids, and she felt like she didn't have a childhood. So she don't, now that she's an adult, she don't think as an adult. She's still thinking as a child because she didn't get to have that childhood. So trauma, it can most definitely be passed down. And as I say again, my grandparents, my mom and my granny fought like crazy. And my mom didn't have a childhood. So when she got to having kids, my mom wanted to fight because that was a trauma to her. And my mom is just like his mom. You say one thing to her, try to hurt her feelings, oh, she's going below the belt. And she don't care how you feel about it. She don't care if it hurts your feelings. Like, and she gonna cut you. Like when she say a word, you're gonna bleed. So yes, it can be passed down, and I have witnessed it, and then you just like wow. So yeah.
Yeah, before I let you go, Ralph, it brings me back to that conversation we was having when we was talking about just being that difference maker. And that falls in line with the question that we said earlier. Why is it frowned upon to seek help? So we want to make sure you guys understand. Be that difference. Though it's been passed down, it doesn't have to continue to be passed down. Now, some stuff is just in your blood, and you're just not going to be able to shake it. But once you realize and get an understanding, you can make a difference. So we making sure we let everyone know it's okay to seek help and to stop those generational curse. But go ahead, Raph, do your thing.
So I agree that it can be passed down. And how I know for a fact that it can be passed down is because I'm a prime example of it. My mom liked to say that there was a lot of affection in our house, but I don't remember any of it, if we're being honest. Because I think that I block out everything that happened um before my mom got sick in 98. I think I block all it out. And so from 98 on up, because I was doing so much for her, I don't think there was a lot of affection. But when I had kids, right? So, my kids are very affectionate, especially Rennie, who is my lookalike. And it's so like at first it was so strange for me because I couldn't understand how somebody who looked like me wanted so much affection. And like I don't necessarily don't care to be touched, but like having girls and having Shavonna who always want to touch, like it was big for me because I didn't really understand it. And so like what got me together, Red, is I said, you know what, I'm gonna go home and hug my daughter today. And I went home, I hugged Rennie, and when I finished hugging her, Red, she said, "Hey, Mom, is there something wrong with Daddy?"
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew then that there was something that wasn't right because up until that point, Red, I treated it as if what you want to hug me for, like what you want from me, like what can I do for you, like.
Right.
And so being able to be affectionate the right way wasn't on my to-do list. And so like now I'm trying to be more affectionate because like I told you the other day, I see you with Asher and the girls and you know the way that y'all have fun. Like I seen one of my dogs on Facebook, AD. I seen AD have a screenshot of his daughter and how he talked about like him and his daughter was best friends. And like it just motivates me because to be honest, Red, like I always said I wanted to be a better father than my dad was. And this is another way that trauma works, Red. So my dad wasn't there. So my initial reaction to having kids was I'ma always be there. But what I had to learn is just because I'm always there doesn't mean that I'm always present. And I think that's what the hard thing for me to understand because now I'm trying to be a present parent and not just be a parent that's there because you can be there and still not be present. You can be there and still not know what's going on with your kids. Like you can be there and still be lost. Like you can be there and people still think that you're not a good father. And so like I'm learning to where some people think that them being there is enough. And I, like I said, like seeing people interact with their kids, seeing you interact with Asher and the girls, it has made me further realize that I need to be present. Like being there is not enough. And so, like, you know, I know my kids watch the podcast, this, that, and the third. And so, like, uh, daddy is sorry and daddy would be better because when you learn better, you do better. And I plan on doing better. And so I do want to add Red because my mama, I always say, I don't never say nothing good about her. I'm always talking about the bad. But I do want to say, Red, like I'm at a place in my life where I've realized that where I looked at it as a burden or as a hindrance, taking care of my mama, I realized that it's always something as good as what you're doing bad. So like me knowing how to cook, me knowing how to clean, me knowing how to do laundry, like me knowing how to um clean baseboards and stuff like that. Like all that is because I had to do it as a child. And so like now that I'm older and I'm realizing like that wasn't a curse. It was a blessing because it I could have been out there in the streets and I could have been one of the kids that didn't make it. But and Lord knows with my attitude, I was telling Shavonna the other day, God got a crazy, crazy sense of humor because I promise, Red, like no lie, I told you I went to church Sunday before last, and the lady was talking about trauma. I went to church the Sunday before that, and he was talking about when you feel like you alone and God allow you to be alone until you decide you want to ask him for help. And then this past Sunday, he was like, sometimes you put yourself in a cage because you don't want to let go of stuff. And so to me, Red, like I said, I think God got a funny sense of humor, and I feel like he been talking to me a lot lately. And I do want him to know that I hear, because personally, you know, I'm thankful for everything that I have been through in my life. And Red, finishing up, I know you like to call me a pastor, so I say in closing, uh, I want to shout out my Auntie Deborah, who is, if anybody know me, they know that she like my second mom, and she don't have kids, right? And so I always like to tell her that I think that God didn't give her kids because he knew her nephew was gonna need her in the worst way. And so um every hard part of my life where I've needed somebody to talk to, lean on, and needed somebody to really be there for me, even when my grandma died and I had to speak at the funeral. When I first got up, I couldn't talk because I got up, looked at the casket, and seen my grandma and was like, I can't say nothing. Like my auntie came up there and got behind me and rubbed me on my back and said, "Hey, it's okay. She listening. Go ahead and talk to her." And so, like, I really want to give a special shout out to my auntie Deborah. And you know, even though I said my mama will never stay with me, she is staying with me, and that's my dog. We fuss, we fight, we argue, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't trade her for the world. And as close as I was with my grandma, I see that with her and my kids, and I'm very appreciative of it.
For sure, for sure. Well, again, like no other, we are definitely thankful for the ones that tuned in to check this out. We are definitely thankful for Miss Shantese to take time out of her schedule to bless us, to really fill in for me and be open and
Yeah.
be open to the world. So
And I just
great.
want to say, if you are like going through something and you're dealing with trauma and mental health, like it's okay. Go seek some help. Let it out. Don't keep it in because it's gonna weigh on you. It's gonna be heavy. And when it get heavy, it becomes too much and it can lead to different type of things. So don't let nobody tell you that you're crazy because you need somebody to talk to or you want to be able to be open with somebody. Like go seek help. It is okay to get some help and get that burden off your shoulders. And like you
Yeah, I'm
said,
glad.
I do got a sense of humor. I say that all the time. He got a real sense of humor.
That's
Hey,
real.
I'm glad you said that because Red, let it out. Talk to somebody about it. It's okay to let it out, my brother. But again, thank you, Shane, for filling in. Red wanted to talk, but then he was like, "Man, I ain't ready yet." And so, of course, I respect my brother because you know he is who he is. And so, outside of that, Red, you already know, bro. The one thing we gonna always do on this here podcast, we gonna always keep it real, raw, and relevant. Thank you for tonight's episode of the Rated R Podcast.